My dear viewers, beginning today is the official Alliteration Gaming Patreon and channel members. Throughout my Patreon, we've got quite a few tiers you can check out in order to gain special perks and even commission videos that you'd like to see me upload onto the channel. Every tier includes a shout out on my supporter card at the beginning of all of my videos, along with the benefits of the tier itself. Following that, you can now also join the Alliteration Nation by becoming a channel member on the YouTube side of things. Pledging your subscription here as a member of the channel is going to grant you the same shout out on my supporter card as all the Patreon tiers do, as well as access to the members only channel on my Discord. You'll gain a member badge that will level up as you stay subscribed and access to my exclusive emotes when I stream on YouTube. If you're interested in checking out the Patreon, I'm going to have the link in the description and in the pinned comment down below, as well as the link to my Discord should you want to join that as well. And if you want to become a channel member, the big beautiful join button is front and center on my homepage right here. And if you do decide to support the channel in any way whatsoever, know that I am unimaginably grateful, and I can't wait to provide you with even more top-notch content at my trademark top speed. Additionally, it's time for the return of the referral code. If you're new here and you're just getting into the game, you've got to make an account on the Universe's gaming network. When you're signing up, you can use my exclusive referral code Alliteration to let Jasco know that I brought you on board, which directly supports me and my work. Having an account on the UGN site is going to allow you to sign up for tournaments, participate in events, locate stores that support the game near you, and much more. Playing in events and or mailing in pack wrappers is actually going to accrue loyalty points onto your account, which you'll then be able to redeem for exclusive promo cards in the mail for absolutely free. An account on here is an integral part of playing this game, so make sure you sign up and you use my code Alliteration to help me continue doing what I love. I would really appreciate the support. You guys absolutely killed it on the last one with all of the signups, and I am really excited to run it back with you all. Now, let's get on to the video. Good evening, my dear viewers, and welcome to another Alliteration gaming video. My name's Levi, and it's time for another character spotlight. Brought to you by Thomas Woody, this one is going to delve us into the swamps to dig out the shut-in villain and #1 Stain fanboy, Spinner. Spinner is a 6 hand-sized character with 28 health and the good, order, and void symbols. Like the Crimson Hero Killer that he cosplays, Spinner is a master of the weapons. He is sporting an Enhance that puts a blanket +1 speed or +1 damage to your weapon attacks for the rest of the turn. This very interesting Enhance gives him a playstyle that wants him to go as wide as possible. This stat buff will not only apply to every attack you play for the whole turn, but also stack each time you use it. This means your early moves won't be very threatening, but once you're on the 3rd or 4th attack of the turn, they're going to start scaling with stats incredibly hard. This Enhance also provides Spinner with some very interesting decision trees. Planning out your strings and thinking critically about whether to provide speed or damage to your attacks is going to be pivotal, as well as knowing when to pivot across the turn, as you might need more speed to break through the wall or to start pumping damage once you've exhausted all your rival's defensive resources. There's a little more to our gecko than just that Enhance though. Spinner also rocks the ability to instantly build in any foundation from his hand, accompanied by a +2 speed bonus. Now this is playable during both turns, but you will buff your rival's speed if you use it on their turn, so you've got to be wary. When used properly though, this is a powerful advantage ability that's going to help scale your builds incredibly quickly, as well as put even more stats onto all your weapons. Being able to build things on your rival's turn can also lead to some very fun surprise situations that can really mess with their plans if you use it correctly. With Spinner, you're going to string some of the biggest weapon chains of any character that scale to some insane proportions and establish very strong staging areas at the drop of a hat. Now when it comes to his attacks, Spinner's symbol spread is a little interesting. Void has become a very predominant symbol when it comes to weapons, with things like both Eraserhead's kits, Stain 2's kit, and now Moonfish's kit as well. Good has sported a nice lineup of them from the start, with things like Momo's high quality cards, but Order is the more recent addition. The faction having just started going that route with both of Stain's kits, so it's not as plentiful but still fairly bountiful. It's also important to note that you can play Spinner's Enhance while on a non-weapon attack. It just won't ever be a benefactor of those stats, so we're probably going to want to stick to the package for the most part. Either way, we've got a ton of weapons to talk about, so let's get into it. Weapons are generally known for some pretty combo heavy lines, and while that's great, not everything can be a combo. It is important to also pack groups of cards that you really want to open your lines with. Gecko Stomp is a great lead-in that is either going to result in a free foundation or free damage, and Blade Rush can come swinging out of the gate as a 7 mid for 6 before you even use Spinner's Enhance. And it protects your next move from any interaction. Past his own cards, many of Moonfish's attacks can start strings off while generating resources, Glacier Breaker's card draw, or Shrapnel Tooth flipping their foundations. And if we're on the good symbol, Bow Staff is actually a pretty good attack to start with as it instantly replaces itself, and if we pick up a weapon foundation that we really want, we can instantly build it in with Spinner. We can also use Capture Net in tandem with Spinner to immediately bring in 2 foundations into our stage. Plays like these are really going to get our aggro going right away and give us instant access to all of our best pieces to utilize and commit as resources. Now, where do we go from there? Well, due to how Spinner scales, he wants to go really wide with long strings of attacks. Odds are you're not sending in your Hail Marys as your second move either. You need to let those stats scale a little more. So that means we're going to need some flow cards. Cards that help ease your strings along, make your cards easier to play, or generate more cards to support these strings. Really Big Sword is Spinner's ultra rare, and it accomplishes all of that in spades. Now, with its massive 7 damage and an increasing powerful rating, you might think this is a finishing move, but even after Spinner helps speed it up, that 2 speed is pretty unlikely to finish anyone off. What it does do though is threaten and force a block so that you can clear it from the pool, keep stringing along easier, and go find a new attack that you really want to play. Now, it does possess a risky 2 check, but Spinner gets to circumvent that a lot as he can instantly build in your most expensive foundations with no checks needed. Staff Strike is another card that can help fulfill this role with its ability to bypass progressive difficulty and draw you many more cards. Eraserhead also gives us a lot of void weapons that can make cheating these difficulty curves incredibly easy, as well as binding Cloth Assault to filter out and again increase our hand with more cards. Spinner is a character that really wants a lot of card draw to support building with his Enhance every single turn, so every +1 you can find is very important. Alright, so we've played a couple moves, we've got a ton of stats flowing, now it's finally time to think about ending the game. Let's talk about the final piece of the puzzle, our finishers. All of Spinner's symbols have some fantastic weapons to close the game out sharply with. Total Erasure Binding is a massive damage move that shuts down all of our rivals' defensive options. Blood Moon Rending is a terrifying card that can tear their hand apart to go in for the kill, and, well, we all know Cannon Blast is one of the biggest and deadliest pile of stats the game has ever seen. Spinner's own Twin Sword Slicer is another very efficient spread of damage, representing 12 damage total after echoing, and 2 uses of Spinner as Enhance on 1 card is very valuable. Binding Cloth Precision also can come in all the way at the end of a string with its own pumps, and 3 to 5 uses of Spinner is going to make it so much bigger than any 3 difficulty attack has any right being. These are all great moves in their own rights, but being able to stack and pack Spinner's stats onto them provides you with the power to ramp them even more, and with the specific stat type the situation calls for every time. So we've definitely got a lot of great weapon attacks to choose from, but what about our foundations? Well, we talked about it a bit during the attacks, but one of the most important things for Spinner is generating advantage. Spinner is a 6 hand size character that wants to play tons of attacks on long strings and also build extra foundations from his hand every turn. Card advantage is flat out huge for him, and there's tons of things that can help us find more of that. This is where the good symbol really struts. Cards like Passing the Torch and Destined for Mainstream Success are some of the most premier +1s in the game. And of course, our very own Contempt for Heroes has 2 different abilities that can both increase our hand. Cards like Disturbing Visage and Scouting the Forest can also excel at trading themselves to find more attacks, really locking your late game strings in. Now, it's pretty clear at this point that Spinner is all about the weapons. He's a staying fanboy through and through, which means our playstyle is very eager to embrace those cards as much as we can. This philosophy is going to cross over into our foundations as well. One of the coolest things about a lot of the cards that need to combo with weapons or remove weapons is they can also utilize weapon keyword foundations for those abilities as well. We've got some great choices to pick from. Spinner's own 2 weapons, his Hack and Slash provides very nice stat buffs and some breaker, and Blade Expertise is really going to reward reward us for playing more of these weapon keyword foundations. With the ability to build them straight from hand and put powerful keywords onto our weapon cards, it's going to really tie our package together. The good symbol also gets a Rising Starlet to play with, which leads to some really fun and intricate plays with our other cards to generate lots of advantage, while our other two symbols get to play the powerhouse card Citywide Crisis that really trips up our rivals' aggressive and defensive plays. Speaking of tripping up our rival, let's talk about some of the sneaky things that Spinner gets to do on defense. Being able to build in something during the opposing turn encourages us to play with stat resetting cards in some very unique ways. Being able to hold these cards, allowing your rival to fully commit their resources into what they think will be this massive finishing move, and then snap building in something like Short Circuit, Decoy Duplicate, or You're So Obvious to then bring it all the way back down, can be a huge play that's very, very tough for your rival to plan for. Due to the way these cards work as well, the +2 speed you give them as the trade-off of the Spinner Enhance will be pretty much irrelevant. Void is the king of control pieces, so you're going to find even more shining examples like this, building in what's their plan to steal their momentum, or so manly to really interrupt their strings, all while using cards like Sense of Justice to just control their attacks even more. The last thing to take into account when you're building your Spinner foundation lineups is that you don't have to be afraid to push that difficulty curve. Most decks only play a handful of 3 difficulty foundations, and maybe even less or none at all if they're playing 2 checks. But even with the really big swords in your Spinner decks, you can really abuse those ratios due to your ability to build them straight in. Cards like Raiding the Villain Hideout and Prone to Dry Eyes can really help keep your stats churning even more and more, while Proud Scion and League Invitation can give you some great pinpoint control options. The good symbol is amazing here, with not only some of the best 3 diffs, but also new training method that we saw earlier can let us build in even more of these cards for free. With Spinner, we really get to circumvent the only downside of these powerful foundations and just go straight to reaping all of the benefits. When it comes to assets, Quick Creation is an incredibly staple tool as a weapon asset, possessing incredibly powerful plays within our attack lines and a very potent deadlock. On good symbol Spinner, it's the only asset I would consider a must-have, but if you are on his other symbols, there are some pretty nice options like Tracking Device to help you buff out your checks, or USJ to buff even more of your stats, that both just kind of help your strings flow a little bit easier. Now, our symbols aren't particularly known for their actions, but Capture Evildoers is always a strong include in any deck to control your rival's momentum, as well as clear our own card pool out to make those long strings much easier to perform. Go for the Win can be strong, but a little tough to use, as usually we're going to be outbuilding our rivals as Spinner. But of course, we do have a Showdown symbol, so it's always an extremely worthwhile defensive piece to be considering. That's going to conclude our showcase today on Spinner. Big thanks again to Woody for commissioning this video. If you enjoyed or learned anything from it, I would appreciate some feedback and support down below. And of course, if you want your own video just like this, you want to select your own character for me to spotlight, you can head over to the Patreon to check out my character spotlight commission tier, or any of the other ways that you can commission videos directly from me. I'm going to have that link down below in the description and in the pinned comments, and while you're down there, you can also hit the join button to become a channel member, joining the Alliteration Nation and supporting my work even further. Above all else though, I just appreciate you making it to the end of this video as always. That's all the time I've got for today, but I hope I can see you in the next one.